The crystal waters of Bentota Beach reflected the dawn sky like shattered glass, while a pair of designer sandals lay abandoned on the pristine sand. Chanel flats, size 37, their beige leather already bleached by salt spray and morning dew. The same sandals that had walked down a makeshift aisle just 72 hours earlier, carrying their owner toward what she believed would be salvation. Cristina Navarro had exactly 72 hours of married life before she vanished forever into the humid Sri Lankan night, leaving behind only Instagram posts of perfect happiness and a hotel room that told a very different story. Her iPhone lay cracked on the marble bathroom floor, its screen frozen on a half-typed message that would never be sent. Wedding photos still glowed on the bedside table, Marcus Hoffman's arm wrapped protectively around his radiant bride, both smiling at a future that would never come. The same hands that had typed threatening messages to a Sheikh's brother, that had secretly recorded intimate conversations, that had counted blackmail money in five-star hotel bathrooms, would never be found. By sunrise, those manicured fingers existed only in digital memories and crime scene photographs. 29 years earlier, Maria Cristina Santos Navarro entered the world in a cramped apartment above her grandfather's Sari Sari store in Lahug, Cebu City. The neighborhood bustled with jeepneys honking through narrow streets, vendors selling ballot and fish balls, and the constant sound of karaoke drifting from corner bars. Her father, Roberto Navarro, had owned a small construction business that collapsed during the Asian financial crisis when Cristina was 8. Her mother, Elena, took work as a domestic helper in Hong Kong, sending money home while missing her daughter's childhood one remittance at a time. Cristina learned early that survival required strategy. While other children played patintero in the streets, she studied the wealthy families who occasionally drove through their neighborhood in air-conditioned cars. She noticed how they dressed, how they spoke, how they carried themselves with unquestioned confidence. At 12, she convinced her father to let her work weekends at an upscale salon in Ayala Center, sweeping hair and watching rich women transform themselves with expensive treatments. Her beauty emerged gradually, Spanish colonial features inherited from her grandmother, combined with her mother's delicate bone structure. But Cristina understood that beauty alone meant nothing without cultivation. She spent her teenage years perfecting her English accent by watching American movies, learning basic Mandarin from Hong Kong soap operas, and studying the mannerisms of women who never worried about money. Nursing school at Cebu Normal University seemed like her ticket to respectability, but her father's mounting debts made tuition impossible after 2 years. While classmates prepared for board exams, Cristina made a different calculation. The Philippines offered limited opportunities for social mobility, but the Middle East promised transformation for those brave enough to seize it. Dubai was where dreams came true or died trying. The recruitment agency in Makati promised luxury hotel positions and competitive salaries. The reality was a shared dormitory in Dara, 12-hour shifts cleaning hotel rooms, and an employment contract that felt more like indentured servitude. Cristina's first employer confiscated her passport and paid her a fraction of the promised salary, claiming deductions for housing, food, and mysterious administrative fees. But Cristina possessed something her fellow workers lacked: the ability to observe and adapt. She noticed which hotels hired Filipinos for customer-facing positions, which managers promoted based on merit rather than nationality, and which clients treated staff like human beings rather than invisible servants. After 8 months of exploitation, she escaped her contract by reporting labor violations to the Philippine consulate and landed a position at a mid-tier spa in Dubai Marina. The transformation began immediately. Cristina invested her first month's salary in a professional makeover, subtle highlights that brought out her natural beauty, dermaplaning treatments that gave her skin a porcelain finish, and carefully chosen clothes that suggested quality without ostentation. She enrolled in evening classes to perfect her Arabic and learned the intricate social hierarchies that governed expat life in Dubai. At the Ritz-Carlton Spa, Cristina discovered her true talent: reading people. Wealthy clients revealed their vulnerabilities during treatments, sharing financial anxieties while she massaged tension from their shoulders, discussing family problems as she performed facials. She learned to mirror their emotions, to ask the right questions at precisely the right moments, to make them feel understood in ways their actual relationships rarely provided. Each client became a case study in human psychology. She observed their spending patterns, their relationship dynamics, their fears and desires. Slowly, a realization crystallized. These men weren't just clients seeking relaxation. They were opportunities waiting to be cultivated by someone intelligent enough to understand their weaknesses and patient enough to exploit them systematically. Adam Al-Shamsi first appeared on her appointment book on a humid Tuesday in September 2021. 32 years old, impeccably groomed, carrying himself with the casual arrogance of someone who had never been denied anything he wanted. His spa appointments were always booked under discretionary initials, always paid in cash, and always scheduled during off-peak hours when fewer staff members were present. Other therapists whispered about his reputation. The Sheikh's younger brother who treated the spa like his personal hunting ground, rotating through foreign workers who never lasted more than a few months before mysteriously requesting transfers or leaving Dubai entirely. But Cristina saw something different in Adam's carefully controlled demeanor. A man accustomed to easy conquests who might be intrigued by genuine resistance. During their first session, while Adam expected the usual fawning attention, Cristina remained professionally distant, focusing entirely on the massage technique rather than conversation. When he made suggestive comments, she redirected the discussion to muscle tension and stress relief. When he offered his phone number, she politely declined, explaining that spa policy prohibited personal relationships with clients. The strategy worked perfectly. Adam, accustomed to women who threw themselves at his wealth and status, found himself genuinely curious about the Filipino therapist who seemed immune to his charms. He increased his appointments from weekly to twice weekly, each session an elaborate dance where he pursued and she retreated just enough to keep him interested without crossing professional boundaries. I could tell he was used to women throwing themselves at him, Cristina would later confide to her cousin in Manila. I did the opposite. The courtship unfolded like a chess match where only one player knew the rules. Adam's initial advances followed predictable patterns, lingering touches during massages, expensive coffee invitations, casual mentions of his family's influence. Each overture met Cristina's carefully calibrated resistance, professional courtesy masking calculated strategy. She deflected his dinner invitations while accepting small tokens of appreciation, maintained eye contact just long enough to suggest interest without confirming it. The first crack in her professional facade came during a December session when Adam arrived visibly stressed about family business pressures. Cristina listened with practiced empathy as he vented about his brother's expectations, the weight of maintaining the Al-Shamsi reputation, the suffocating nature of traditional obligations. Her responses were perfectly pitched, understanding without being invasive, supportive without being servile. That evening, a Cartier bracelet arrived at the spa with a note. For exceptional service beyond the call of duty. The white gold links caught lobby lighting like captured stars, worth more than Cristina's annual salary. She wore it to their next session, watching Adam's satisfaction at claiming this small piece of her compliance. The transition from spa treatments to private encounters happened gradually. First, coffee at the Burj Al Arab Sky Bar after her shift ended. Then dinner at Nobu, where Adam's reservation commanded the best table and staff attention that money couldn't buy in most countries. Each meeting pushed boundaries further while maintaining plausible deniability. Adam's rules were established early and non-negotiable. Absolute secrecy, no public appearances together, no social media acknowledgement of their relationship. Cristina existed in the shadows of his life, available when convenient, invisible when necessary. She accepted these terms with apparent grace, understanding they were both protection and prison. The luxury lifestyle became intoxicating in ways Cristina hadn't anticipated. Five-star hotel suites at the Atlantis became their regular meeting places, each encounter worth more than her monthly spa salary. Shopping expeditions to Dubai Mall's most exclusive boutiques, where Adam would buy her Hermes scarves and Louboutin shoes with casual indifference. The gold souk visits where he selected jewelry pieces like choosing fruit at a market. Cash payments began as gifts but evolved into compensation, $2,000 for dinner and conversation, $5,000 for overnight stays. Cristina's bank account, previously sustained by careful budgeting, swelled with money she had never imagined possessing. Designer handbags filled her apartment closet, Luxury cosmetics lined her bathroom counter, and silk lingerie replaced her practical cotton underwear. But beneath the surface glamour, Cristina's survival instincts remained sharp. The first recording happened almost accidentally. Her phone's voice memo app activated during an intimate conversation where Adam discussed sensitive family business. Listening to the playback later, she realized she possessed something potentially valuable. Evidence of private conversations that powerful families preferred to keep secret. The documentation strategy evolved systematically. Hidden cameras purchased from electronic souks in Dara, disguised as phone chargers and decorative objects. Multiple smartphones with specialized recording applications. Photography became routine. Adam sleeping beside expensive watches and personal documents carelessly left visible. Family photos on nightstands, credit cards and identification papers. Digital storage required sophistication. Encrypted cloud folders organized by date and content type. Voice recordings cataloged with timestamps and location data. Screenshots of money transfer notifications and gift receipts. Each piece of evidence backed up across multiple platforms, accessible from anywhere in the world. Adam's conversations revealed family secrets with stunning carelessness. Business discussions about government contracts, political connections that ensured regulatory compliance, disparaging comments about his brother's rivals and allies. During cocaine-fueled evenings, his tongue loosened further, sharing information that could damage reputations and destroy carefully constructed political alliances. The relationship's deterioration began subtly. Adam's paranoia about being seen together increased after a close call at City Walk where they encountered his cousin's wife. Meeting frequency decreased from weekly to monthly, then to sporadic encounters when his schedule permitted. Financial support became inconsistent, gifts replaced by promises of future generosity. The engagement announcement appeared in Gulf News on a humid morning in August 2022. Adam Al-Shamsi to marry Fatima Al-Qasimi, daughter of a prominent Emirati family, in a traditional ceremony celebrating the union of two respected bloodlines. The accompanying photograph showed Adam in pristine white kandura beside a woman whose face remained partially veiled, both looking toward a future that had no place for Filipino spa therapists. Cristina's realization crystallized with brutal clarity. I was always disposable. The first demand seemed reasonable, $50,000 presented as a loan for her father's medical emergency. Adam's immediate refusal and attempt to terminate their relationship triggered Cristina's nuclear option. She played a 30-second recording of him discussing bribes paid to secure construction permits, watching his face transform from dismissive arrogance to genuine fear. You don't understand who you're dealing with? Adam warned, but his voice lacked conviction. I understand perfectly, Cristina replied, her tone steady as surgical steel. The question is whether you understand who you've been underestimating. The power dynamic shifted permanently. Monthly payments of $10,000 became routine, justified as continuing their relationship while maintaining appropriate discretion. Cristina's threats were specific and credible. Recordings sent to the Sheikh's office, video evidence shared with local newspapers, financial documentation provided to anti-corruption investigators. Adam's desperation manifested in increasingly frantic attempts to raise money without family detection. Private assets were liquidated quietly, business partnerships leveraged for personal loans, and gambling debts accumulated as he sought quick financial solutions to an escalating problem. The final ultimatum arrived via encrypted message in February 2023, $200,000 or complete evidence release within 30 days. This is your last chance to handle this quietly, Cristina typed, watching the message status change from delivered to read. Meanwhile, Marcus Hoffman entered her life with perfect timing. The German project manager appeared at her usual Dubai Marina coffee shop, seemingly by coincidence, though Cristina recognized opportunity when it presented itself. 38 years old, financially stable, desperately lonely after 2 years of unsuccessful dating in Dubai's harsh expat environment. Marcus represented everything Adam could never provide. Respectability, genuine affection, and most importantly, legitimate escape from the dangerous game she was playing. Within weeks, she had crafted herself into his ideal woman. Sweet, traditional, grateful for his attention and protection. His marriage proposal came exactly 8 weeks after their first date, accompanied by his grandmother's modest but meaningful ring and tears of genuine happiness. Cristina accepted with apparent joy, calculating privately, "Once I'm married, Adam will have to pay to avoid the scandal of being connected to someone's wife." The trap was set, the players positioned, and the final act ready to begin. The Dubai court's marble corridors echoed with the footsteps of couples seeking legal union, but none carried the weight of deception that followed Cristina Navarro down the aisle toward Marcus Hoffman. The civil ceremony was deliberately modest. 12 witnesses, including her Filipino spa colleagues, a German expat friend of Marcus's, and 2 court-appointed officials who had performed thousands of similar unions without knowing this one would end in international headlines. Marcus's joy radiated authentically as he slipped the ring onto Cristina's finger, his voice trembling slightly while reciting vows he believed with absolute sincerity. Beside him, Cristina delivered her lines flawlessly, each word calculated to convince everyone present that love had conquered the practical obstacles facing cross-cultural couples in Dubai. Her colleagues from the Ritz-Carlton whispered about how romantic it all was, none suspecting their sweet friend was simultaneously blackmailing a Sheikh's brother. Wedding photographs captured genuine smiles masking lethal intentions. Marcus's arm wrapped protectively around his bride while Cristina gazed at him with practiced adoration, both unaware that hidden in her purse were 3 phones containing evidence that would soon trigger a diplomatic crisis. Sri Lanka had been Marcus's romantic choice for their honeymoon. Affordable luxury, pristine beaches, and blessed distance from Dubai's suffocating social expectations. The pre-departure tension crackled through their marina apartment like electrical storms. Adam's messages arrived with increasing desperation. "We need to talk before you leave," followed by, "This is madness. You're making a terrible mistake." And finally, "Consider what you're risking by pushing this further." Each notification sent Cristina's pulse racing, but not with fear, with the intoxicating rush of holding absolute power over someone who had never experienced consequences. Her final ultimatum was delivered with surgical precision. "Pay the full amount before my flight departs tomorrow, or every recording, every photograph, and every document gets released simultaneously to your family, the media, and government authorities. No extensions, no negotiations, no second chances." The accompanying timestamp showed Adam had read the message within minutes, but his response never came. Packing became an exercise in strategic concealment. Designer clothes Marcus had helped her choose covered backup phones wrapped in silk scarves. Fake identification documents nestled between luxury cosmetics. USB drives containing encrypted evidence were sewn into lingerie padding. Her secret plan crystallized with each hidden item: collect the blackmail payment, disappear during the honeymoon using the false documents, and surface in the Philippines with enough money to disappear permanently. The last message to Adam carried the finality of a death sentence. "This is your final chance." Shangri-La Hambantota emerged from the Sri Lankan coastline like something from a fever dream, impossibly luxurious against the backdrop of rural fishing villages, its infinity pools reflecting tropical skies while local children played in polluted streams just kilometers away. Marcus had planned every detail meticulously. Sunset dinners, couples spa treatments, private beach excursions designed to create memories they would treasure forever. But Cristina's impatience with romantic activities became increasingly obvious. During candlelit dinners overlooking the Indian Ocean, she checked her phones obsessively under the table. While Marcus attempted intimate conversations about their future together, she provided distracted responses that satisfied his need for engagement without requiring genuine emotional investment. The constant phone checking created growing tension that even Marcus's determined optimism couldn't ignore. Their first 3 days generated perfect Instagram content: sun-kissed couple photos at golden hour, champagne breakfasts on their private terrace, romantic beach walks that looked spontaneous but were carefully staged. Marcus's attempts at deeper connection met Cristina's increasingly mechanical responses as she maintained her performance while monitoring communications from Dubai. Secret phone calls happened during Marcus's pool sessions, when she claimed headaches required air-conditioned rest in their suite. Adam's messages evolved from desperate pleas to barely controlled threats, each exchange confirming what Cristina had begun to suspect: he's not going to pay. The fourth night shattered the pretense completely. Adam's final message arrived during their dinner at the resort's signature restaurant. "I'm done with your games. Do your worst. My family has handled bigger problems than a greedy whore with delusions of importance." The words hit Cristina like physical blows, not because of their cruelty, but because they confirmed her worst fear. She had overplayed her hand against someone more dangerous than she had calculated. Cristina's nuclear option activated automatically. Sitting across from Marcus as he discussed plans for visiting a tea plantation, she began uploading files to multiple platforms simultaneously. Every recording, every photograph, every piece of evidence would flood social media, news outlets, and government databases within hours. If Adam wanted to play hardball, she would show him what total warfare looked like. Marcus's growing suspicion about her behavior crystallized during dessert when she took the fourth emergency call from her mother that evening. "Cristina, what's really going on? You've been acting strange since we arrived, and these constant phone calls." His voice carried hurt rather than anger, which somehow made everything worse. The argument escalated in their suite overlooking moonlit waters. Marcus questioned her phone usage with increasing directness while Cristina deflected with growing desperation. Finally, cornered by his gentle but persistent inquiry about her secretive behavior, she made the fatal decision, "I need to handle this myself." At 9:47 p.m., security cameras captured Cristina walking through the resort lobby in casual clothes. White cotton dress, flat sandals, small purse containing one phone and emergency cash. Her explanation to Marcus was perfectly reasonable. "Going for a beach walk to clear my head after our argument." The last confirmed sighting showed her exiting the resort gate at 9:52 p.m., turning left toward the coastal road where security lighting faded into tropical darkness. What the cameras couldn't show was the black SUV with tinted windows waiting 200 meters beyond the resort's perimeter, its engine running and occupants watching the entrance with predatory patience. Marcus's initial assumption seemed logical. She needed space after their first real argument as a married couple. Midnight brought growing concern as repeated calls went straight to voicemail. By 2 a.m., hotel security was searching the beach with flashlights, calling her name into waves that swallowed sound without echo. Dawn brought police involvement and systematic beach searches that would continue for weeks without finding any trace of the woman who had vanished into the Sri Lankan night. The reality that would emerge later was more chilling. By sunrise, Cristina was already 300 kilometers away, her location unknown, her fate sealed by the dangerous game she had chosen to play against opponents who wrote different rules entirely. The digital archaeology began 3 days after Cristina's disappearance, when Dubai Police Cybercrimes Unit received authorization to access her electronic footprint. What they discovered in the sterile glow of computer screens would expose a web of corruption reaching into the highest levels of Emirati society. Senior Detective Amira Hassan had investigated dozens of missing persons cases, but none had generated the political pressure that accompanied this particular file. Cristina's digital life revealed itself in devastating detail. Cloud storage accounts contained over 12,000 messages exchanged with Adam Al-Shamsi across 18 months. Each conversation cataloged with forensic precision. The earliest exchanges showed professional politeness evolving into intimate familiarity, then transforming into something far more dangerous. Detective Hassan watched the relationship's progression through screenshots that read like a manual for psychological manipulation. Recorded conversations filled encrypted folders organized by date and potential explosive value. Adam's voice, crystal clear through expensive recording equipment, discussed family business with stunning carelessness. Construction contracts secured through political connections, government officials receiving envelopes of appreciation, regulatory inspections that somehow always resulted in clean reports. Each recording was accompanied by photographic evidence, documents carelessly left visible, family photos revealing private residences, credit cards and identification papers captured during intimate moments. Financial records painted the clearest picture of systematic exploitation. Bank transfers totaling $186,000 over 18 months, each payment coinciding with specific demands from Cristina's carefully maintained blackmail schedule. Monthly deposits of $10,000 had become routine, supplemented by larger payments triggered by particularly damaging evidence or escalating threats. Adam had liquidated investment portfolios, borrowed against property holdings, and even pawned family heirlooms to meet her increasingly aggressive demands. The final digital exchange chilled investigators with its prophetic finality. Adam's last message, timestamped 11:47 p.m. on the night of Cristina's disappearance, read simply, "This ends tonight, one way or another." Her response, sent 6 minutes later from somewhere near the resort, consisted of 3 words, "Try me, coward." Pattern recognition algorithms flagged disturbing correlations across international databases. 7 expat women had vanished from various Gulf states over the past decade after documented relationships with prominent local families. Each case had been investigated briefly, then classified as voluntary disappearances or tragic accidents. Each investigation had encountered similar diplomatic obstacles and evidence destruction that suggested coordinated suppression efforts. UAE flight records revealed 3 private jets departing Dubai for Colombo during the 72-hour window surrounding Cristina's disappearance. 2 belonged to businesses with documented connections to the Al-Shamsi family empire. Cell tower data showed Cristina's phone traveling inland from the resort at high speed, its digital signature disappearing permanently near Colombo's international airport. The Sheikh's office response came within hours of the investigation's preliminary findings becoming known to select government officials. Complete denial of Adam's involvement accompanied by subtle threats regarding the diplomatic consequences of pursuing unfounded allegations against respected Emirati families. UAE publications received explicit instructions to avoid coverage of the case, while social media posts mentioning Adam's name mysteriously disappeared from platforms. Legal teams materialized with supernatural efficiency, filing injunctions to prevent evidence sharing between countries and challenging the jurisdiction of international investigators. Adam's public alibi was established through carefully documented photographs showing him at a Dubai business meeting during the exact time period of Cristina's disappearance, despite digital evidence placing his phone in Sri Lankan airspace. Background investigation revealed Adam's true pattern of behavior with devastating clarity. Immigration records showed dozens of expat women who had left Dubai suddenly after brief relationships with him, their departure dates coinciding with mysterious family emergencies or unexpected job opportunities in distant countries. Financial records revealed a systematic pattern of payments to foreign women, each relationship following identical progression from romance to financial dependence to abrupt termination. The family enablement ran deeper than investigators had initially suspected. Private security teams, legal fixers, and diplomatic contacts had spent years covering Adam's escalating scandals. What began as damage control for a playboy's indiscretions had evolved into a sophisticated operation capable of making problems disappear permanently. Each incident had been more serious than the last, and each successful cover-up had reinforced Adam's sense of absolute impunity. International complications multiplied faster than solutions. UAE-Sri Lanka diplomatic relations influenced every aspect of the investigation, with embassy officials from both countries prioritizing political stability over justice for a missing woman. Evidence-sharing requests encountered bureaucratic obstacles that seemed designed to run out the clock on witness memories and physical evidence preservation. The cover-up machine operated with industrial efficiency. Private investigators appeared in Sri Lanka within days, conducting parallel investigations that consistently concluded Cristina had staged her own disappearance to escape debts and personal problems. Character assassination campaigns painted her as a mentally unstable gold digger who had fabricated evidence against innocent men. Marcus faced increasing pressure to accept the tragic accident narrative and return to Germany to grieve privately. Meanwhile, Cristina's final communications emerged from digital recovery efforts like messages from beyond the grave. A voice note to her mother, recorded hours before her disappearance, carried chilling prescience. "Mama, if something happens to me, check my cloud storage account. The password is your birthday. Everything you need to know is there." Her cousin in the Philippines received a text message that would haunt the family forever. "I may have pushed too hard this time. If I don't call you tomorrow, assume the worst and contact the media." Most devastating were the deleted draft messages recovered from her phones, revealing a woman who had finally understood the lethal nature of her situation. He's not bluffing anymore. These people don't negotiate, they eliminate problems. The message was never sent, but its existence proved that Cristina had recognized her danger too late to save herself. Her final insurance policy, an encrypted file containing every piece of evidence with detailed instructions for public release, was discovered by investigators but classified immediately under diplomatic pressure. The truth about Adam Al-Shamsi would remain buried beneath layers of influence and international relations, while the woman who had tried to expose it became another statistic in the growing file of expat women who had simply vanished without consequences for their powerful predators. 6 months after Cristina Navarro walked into the Sri Lanka night, the official conclusion arrived with bureaucratic finality. The case file, stamped with red ink declaring it classified due to diplomatic sensitivities, joined hundreds of similar folders in Colombo's police headquarters. No body had been recovered despite search operations that combed 30 kilometers of coastline and interviewed over 200 witnesses. The official theory satisfied no one but closed uncomfortable questions. Accidental drowning complicated by voluntary disappearance to escape personal debts. Sri Lankan authorities cited insufficient evidence to pursue criminal charges against any suspects, while acknowledging that persons of interest remained under discreet monitoring. The careful language fooled nobody. Diplomatic pressure from multiple embassies had effectively neutered the investigation before it could threaten international relations. Case files disappeared into classified storage, accessible only to officials who had already decided the truth was too dangerous to pursue. The family's responses revealed the brutal mathematics of global power structures. Marcus returned to Germany carrying luggage that felt heavier than its contents, each item a reminder of love that had never existed. Cristina's family in the Philippines launched desperate campaigns for justice through social media and human rights organizations, their voices disappearing into the void of international indifference. Meanwhile, Adam's family maintained absolute innocence while threatening legal action against anyone suggesting their son's involvement in criminal activity. The wealth disparity created parallel universes of consequence. One family possessed infinite resources for legal protection, media manipulation, and diplomatic influence. The others faced bankruptcy from legal fees, social ostracization for challenging powerful interests, and the crushing realization that truth meant nothing without power to enforce it. Marcus's journey back to Dubai to collect Cristina's belongings became an exercise in archaeological horror. Her apartment revealed layers of deception that made their entire relationship feel like elaborate performance art. Fake identification documents hidden behind family photos. Bank accounts in names he had never heard. Phone numbers connected to people who claimed never to have met the woman he thought he had married. The emotional devastation transcended simple betrayal. Marcus discovered that love itself had been weaponized against him, that every intimate moment had been calculated for maximum psychological impact. Her tears during their engagement had been scripted. Her stories about family struggles had been fiction designed to trigger his protective instincts. Even their sexual relationship had been performance, each response calibrated to reinforce his emotional dependence. His choice to seek truth despite personal cost earned him threats from multiple directions. Private investigators working for undisclosed clients appeared at his hotel, suggesting that pursuing the matter further could prove dangerous for his health and career prospects. But Marcus possessed something that wealth couldn't purchase: the stubborn German determination to understand what had happened to the woman he had thought he loved. Self-blame consumed him during sleepless nights in Dubai hotels. How had he missed signs that seemed obvious in retrospect? The secretive phone calls, the unexplained income, the way she deflected questions about her past. His engineering mind, trained to identify structural weaknesses, had been completely blind to the manipulation targeting his emotional vulnerabilities. The realization that he had been a pawn in her larger game created a different kind of grief, mourning for his own naivety rather than her disappearance. Survivor's guilt plagued him with impossible questions. Could he have prevented her fate by being more observant, more suspicious, less trusting? His testimony to investigators provided crucial evidence despite personal cost, confirming financial transfers and behavioral patterns that painted devastating pictures of premeditation. The haunting question that would follow him forever: did she ever feel anything real? The broader impact rippled through Dubai's expat communities like psychological contagion. Filipino workers, already vulnerable to exploitation, developed heightened paranoia about relationships with local men. Support groups formed in community centers and churches, sharing warnings about dangerous situations and protective strategies. Embassy officials issued carefully worded advisories about high-risk social interactions without explicitly acknowledging the systemic nature of the problem. The unspoken rule crystallized through whispered conversations. Some men were untouchable, regardless of evidence or witnesses. Power created immunity that transcended legal systems, transforming justice from universal principle into luxury commodity available only to those wealthy enough to afford it. Systemic issues exposed by the case revealed uncomfortable truths about globalized exploitation. Economic desperation drove millions of workers into situations where survival required accepting risks that middle-class people could never imagine. International jurisdiction complications provided convenient excuses for inaction, while diplomatic relations trumped human rights considerations with depressing consistency. Independent journalists faced legal threats and visa revocations for investigating too aggressively. Questions that would never be answered haunted everyone who encountered her story. Had she underestimated Adam's capacity for violence, or had desperation made her willing to accept deadly risks? 2 years later, the world had moved on with characteristic amnesia. Adam Al-Shamsi married his approved Emirati bride in a ceremony covered by society magazines, living a publicly respectable life while privately knowing he had literally gotten away with murder. No investigations remained active, the case officially cold despite evidence that would have convicted ordinary criminals. Sri Lankan fishermen occasionally discovered women's clothing washed ashore by monsoon tides, each finding investigated briefly before being forgotten. The Indian Ocean kept its secrets with geological patience, while Cristina's story became whispered warning among expat communities about the price of challenging powerful predators. In Dubai's glittering towers and Sri Lanka's pristine beaches, some stories are never meant to be told. But silence, like the ocean itself, cannot hold secrets forever.
عروس فلبينية